the Vegas reputable from the ground up. You know what's up. Hey, look, check this out. I believe when we left off, I was talking about what happened with, in high desert, how everything started to fall apart, stuff like that. You know. Now, one particular incident that occurred on that yard that I can't forget is the arrival of Sabir, Ronald Buckner. Coldest cat I ever met, I swear to God. Muslim, Sunni Muslim. They call him Sabir. I met him in Ely. This dude here, he loved oil, scented oil and incense. And he had this little method. He used to order incense and used to get them in through Hobbycraft when we had Hobbycraft. It's all, we can speak on it because it's all over with. Uh, we had, a cool Hobbycraft officer, which was the coach. You know what I'm saying? It was the coach Ingram that came from Gene. He was over Hobbycraft and all that. So Sabir had it hooked up to where when he got his oils in, they came in as oil paint. The people that sent them to him already knew the move, so they sent the oil. It looked like oil, painting oil, and it was actually scented oil. So that's how he was getting his incense and all that stuff in. He could get incense in, but we couldn't get oil. But he knew how to smuggle it in. And what he'd do is he'd get his oil, and he'd get little ink pens. He'd burn the ends, and he'll fill ink pens up with oil, and he'll sell them for $5. So you had little ink pens of oil that he sold for $5. Or if you can get like a little nozzle spray bottle or something like that, that right there, that could cost you anywhere from 25 to $50. So he was slanging oil like crack, and people was buying it up because they was going on visit, or they was smoking weed in their room, and they was using it to cover up the smell, or they'd get some incense to cover up the smell. It was all about covering up the smell, or if you just wanted your room to smell good. He had the scented oils and all that. So, me being introduced to Islam by Safari a long time ago and being a study of it, I was studying Islam for almost like, at that time, about, this was in 2003, 2002, so I've been studying Islam for a very long time. I rose to the rank of assistant imam before. So I was a very avid follower of Islam at one point, just like every other religion. I thought I follow Yahweh. I studied Anton LaVey in the Satanic Church. I studied it all. So I've been all over the place when it was religion. So right now I'm in my Islam chapter of my life. So I'm walking around with a kufi on. Everybody remember me when I had my kufi on, right? So me being a man of high rank, coming from gang culture and bringing that type of background into Islam, I immediately rose up in rank. And being with Sabir and knowing him from Ely, I became his henchman, his right-hand man. And when he want debts collected, just like at NSP, I got myself caught back up in that, collecting debts behind oil this time. So I'm doing that under the disguise of the head Sharif. And if you know what a head Sharif is, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's like the chief of security of Muslims. Like Farrakhan's son, basically. So I'm acting like him in a thuggish manner. I'm walking around checking traps with a kufi on, but I'm acting like a gangster. And I got other people with kufis on, and we coming up to you, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Hey, you got that for the imam? Like we righteous, but got on boots ready to put them on you if you ain't got our money. You know what I'm saying? Smelling good. We got dicker beads and all that old stuff like we holier than thou, and we crooked as I don't know what. Check this out. One day, me and Sabir together. Now, the Nation of Islam, They got a cold not all of them was corrupted, but Minister Maurice Black from White Street was the minister at this time. Him and Shabda never liked each other. And it didn't have nothing to do with Sunniism and the Farrakhanism. It just had something to do with Sabir was making all the money and he wasn't sharing it. And Minister Maurice thought, as a Muslim, he should get a bigger piece of the pot per se. But Sabir ain't seeing it that way. Even the Muslims from Washington and Wyoming, they don't like Sabir. Because Sabir having it his way. He's selling his oil and he manipulating everything. He so good at what he do. When I tell you, when I ended with him, ooh, he's so good at what he do. He be good at manipulating everything. He real good at it, right? So look, one day, me and Sabir on a lower yard, him and Minister Maurice get into it. I thought they talking crazy to each other. So they say, so Minister Maurice say, what you want to do, brother? Sabir say, oh, brother, you already know. I stay on the Mushta King. I'm thinking, what y'all talking about? Y'all talking about a holy war or something? What y'all talking about, man? Check this out. They going and you and I follow Sabir. I'm thinking, I'm finna have to pull these cats apart. They go in the room. I'm like, what y'all finna do? They cleared the flow out. Sabir took his kufi out, took his 2 front teeth out, and pulled out some dice he made out of toilet paper. And go tell me, Amir, that's what they call me, Amir, whole post. I got on a kufi. So you want me to hold post by the door, like we in the chapel, while you and the minister from the nation shoot craps? And I didn't know your 2 front teeth was fake. He took off his kufi, took his 2 front teeth out, and took out some dice, man. He made out of toilet paper, man. And he started. You know what? I was like, this the imam. This the head. Man, I didn't witness. I never. You shooting craps, and I'm holding posts while you doing it, and you doing it with the nation minister. He in there with his shirt off, with a bow tie on, and they shooting craps. I'm like, what's this shit here, man? But, hey, and that ain't all. That ain't all. But I'm gonna have to get back to that because I ended up leaving High Desert Yard and coming back a couple times. But that's neither here nor there. Now, Sabir basically is the money man now. I go from J-Lo to Sabir. So I'm always finding myself on this extortionist, like, never mind. I'm acting like I'm going up here and I'm making prayer, and I know how to pray in Arabic, and I'm on this Quran thing, and I'm really studying, and I'm devout, and I know, and I'm learning this religion, and so much of it, you know. And I stood there, and I put my hand up, and I said, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Ashandu Illallah Allah wa Ashandu Inaha Muhammad Rasulullah La ilaha illallah. I done said that, knowing goddamn well I'm finna go down here and rob somebody, push up on somebody with a knife as soon as I leave this chapel. Crook. The imam was just shooting dice. We was all crooks, hiding behind kufis. We was all hiding behind kufis, bean pies, or whatever. We was, and I'm keeping it 100. I'm keeping it 100. You know what I mean? So, this one Muslim hit the yard named Bilal. Bilal is Shiite. I ain't finna get into that, but they're a different type of Muslim. And their religion is different than Sunnis and nations. Although they all Muslims, they don't see things the same way. Trust me, they don't. And this cat here was either a little bit too extreme, or he used Islam to hide a sick fetish. Because when he prayed naked. And he in a room with one of them youngsters from Non-Stop Gangster. Right? And the youngster ain't going for it. So the youngster fire on Bilal. Now the Muslims and grouped up. We go down there. The youngster tell us what happened. I tell him straight up, man, I would have did the same thing and went a little further. So Sabir basically using this opportunity to let it be known that the Muslims is basically the new mob on the yard, and if you put your hand on a Muslim, it's gonna be an issue type stuff. Alright? Well, I guess they didn't get the memo. This dude from the nation named Crook, he put his hands on an elder. We went down there, we tried to talk to this dude. He was kind of confrontational. The nation is kind of hostile. It's kind of, I don't know what it is, but trying to talk to them, especially in prison, sometimes it's kind of hard to do for whatever reason, especially if you're a Sunni Muslim. So we tried to talk to this dude, and he basically said F us. He was going to camp anyway. He's rolling his stuff up. So Sabir said, don't let him make it to that laundry room. Don't nobody put their hand on no Muslim. He just made the proclamation. Everybody standing around like they don't know what to do. I'm trailing the dude. I'm gonna show you what to do. I'm trailing him. So we all following the dude to the laundry room. I done sped up and got by him. I tell one of the Muslims that caught up with me, Abdul, I say, hey, listen, watch my back. When we get by the coffee shop, I'm finna slide this motherfucker, all right? He said, I got you. So when we get by the coffee shop, I take flight on him. Slid him, his property, and all that everywhere, and dipped off in the crowd and took my kufi off and was standing there with everybody else like I'm up there waiting on coffee shop. Slid him, though. So he jumped up and ran, and it's like that, okay, you motherfucker. It's like that. He ran to the he ran to the property room, left his property all out there. So the nation hear about it. They come up there, they deep. All these bow ties and bald heads, and they marching, and they in two lines and all that old stuff they be doing. I'm like, oh, here we go with this. Here they come. Right? Say, brother, what's going on with you and our brother? So Sabir talking to the nation, and, well, brother, you can't be putting your hand on no nation, and the nation is not gonna go for no brothers being battered around here. So either we go come to some type of agreeable. I'm like, man, what the fuck? I don't want to hear all that, man. You know. So the first one I was by, you know, I forget his name. This show dude, I stole on him. So we out there fighting the nation, scrapping hard. Now you got the bean pies against the kufis. We out there scrapping. Swinging laundry bags with rocks in them, all that. We fighting hard, motherfucker. Muslims. Like we over there in the Middle East. We fighting. And guess what? The whole time, the Serenos is sitting back watching. lined up against the wall down there by Unit 8. They sitting back watching. They been watching and waiting. And when they seen that fight, they decided it was time to make their move. And what they did is they was down there by, Unit 3 used to be level 1. We used to have meetings down there. But they revamped their yard. They did so much moving when they brought them out of town people there. So they made level 1, Unit 5 and 6. And Unit 6 was the Seattle boys, the people that was from out of town. And the Wyoming people was in Unit 8. So all that area up there was level 1. And now Unit 3 is level 3. So now you got the Serenos down there talking about this side phone, this side shower, this side table. So they done started that down there. We've heard about it, but we didn't take it serious. But now they decided to start demonstrating. So they started picking dudes that wasn't affiliated in no gangs or part of no organization per se. They was picking basehead dudes that looked like they slept under a bridge somewhere. They didn't have no teeth. These dudes were the ones that was making the mistake of sitting at their so-called tables or whatever. And so when they sat at their table, instead of them saying, "Hey, Holmes, it's our table," they didn't give them that respect. They took flight. So they beat up a brother in the kitchen. Now, we didn't have a couple confrontations with Neto because a few of his Serenos they turned Islam for some reason. And he had a problem with that. He didn't think no Mexican can be a Muslim. So it was almost a war because it was Mexicans that were Muslims. And he was like, can't no Mexican be no Muslim. He just don't see it. Even if you show him documentation where the religion says that it's colorblind and none, he didn't want to believe none of that. He really got a Sereno mentality. If you ain't no Catholic, you ain't nothing to him. So when they beat that black up, that was like the last straw. Because, people got tired of Neto. He was doing too much. Him and Sablinka, the CEO Sablinka, that little short CEO, they was connected on some racial stuff. And after they beat that black up, man, you can tell that the frustration that the blacks had with these Serenos, because they used to be on a soccer field. They stopped being on the soccer field. The Paisas started being on the soccer field. But when they beat up that black, for some reason, this day, they decided to line up under that gate. And it's a tower right there. And when they lined up under that gate, they made sure that they put a bunch of rocks around them. Now the blacks is like, hey, we heard somebody got jumped in the culinary by the Mexicans, man, and the blacks didn't help them. We getting conflicting stories. All we heard is a black got smashed by the Mexicans, and the other blacks ran out the kitchen. When the police was coming in the kitchen, they say the other blacks was running out the kitchen. Can you believe that? So you got two sets of brothers grouping up. The ones from Unit 2 and the ones from Unit 1. It's basically a gang of Cali dudes and a gang of Vegas dudes, but they grouping up separate. And It's a gang of them up there by the culinary that was walking down, about 70 blacks. And then by unit 5 and 6, it was about 50 to 60 blacks. All the blacks wasn't even in. But this was on the yard. These dudes grouped up fast, had knives, and said, you know what, let's take it to them. And they was moving. The ones up there by the culinary was moving, and the ones by 5 and 6 was moving. Dada, Drama, Pokey, P, everybody. And the ones that was by 5 and 6 got to the essays first. And instead of the essays, they if they would have waited, they probably would have did more damage. But when the blacks made it in the field, in the rocks, the essays started throwing rocks at the blacks. And the blacks started throwing rocks back. Blacks that was by the tower, by the culinary, they started running toward the Mexicans, which caught the Mexicans' attention. They seen all them brothers by that culinary coming. And so they couldn't too much focused on the ones they was dealing with at hand, which caused them to get up on them. And when they got up on them, it was all bad. They started stabbing them up. Now, the Mexicans was fighting, man, but I'm gonna be honest with you. After about, say, 9 seconds, they started running. And if you think I'm lying, Stroud, Blake, McBurney, Sergeant Poe, Miss Kozla, Erkalani, all these COs witnessed this. When they came running toward the incident on the yard that was by the soccer field, the Serenos was running by them. They was running. They was running by the water. And one Sereno, Shorty, that was his nickname, he's Shorty, he couldn't get away. And that's the Sereno that they killed in 2004 on High Desert Yard in that riot. They threw so many bricks on that boy's head. When you use the term pumpkin head, that's really how big his head was. They threw so many bricks on that boy's head, man. And his homeboy left him. Nettle started all that bullshit, and they left him. The same thing that happened to me. But see, unlike him, I was lucky enough to live. He died. But it wasn't no different. They came and got him. And when the knives came out, they left him. And he died. Now, this the first killing on High Desert State Prison Yard. They bolted the doors down so tight, meaning they locked us down so tight the roaches in there couldn't breathe. They bolted the doors down. So it's all over the news. Sereno get killed. Sereno's hot. And when the Serenos is hot, they don't talk. They don't do no talking. A call from Cali came because it was all over the news. And the Serenos out here basically got threatened and said if they didn't kill 5 blacks, and they didn't give a damn if it was nurses, maintenance mans, wardens, COs, inmates, whatever, 5 had to die. If they didn't kill 5 blacks, then they had the green light on them. The Serenos out here, I don't know if it was due to fear, told the Inspector General that they're gonna kill 5 blacks. If you were gonna kill 5 blacks and the order came from Cali, you shut up and you kill. You don't go to the Inspector General and say, hey, We're gonna kill 5 blacks. Like they're gonna say, oh, really? Okay. Well, when they say they're gonna kill 5 blacks, then people said, they said that all on the news. 5 blacks got to die. It was all on the news. Had the boy face covered, all that. 5 blacks go die. Like the prison would just go, okay. Look what they did. They say 5 blacks go die? Okay. They came, look, they got every goon squad from the state of Nevada. From Ely, from NSP, everybody that was goon squad, CERT, whatever, came to High Desert State Prison. And everybody that looked like a Sereno, because some Indians, some islanders got caught up. They came through and they snatched every Sereno off their yard. And they put them in Unit 2. And they started what was known as the Sereno program. They took them out of circulation. They isolated them from the yard. And they did them so bad. They had them behind a fence. And to make it even worse, they put stuff in the fence so they couldn't even see out the fence. They did them bad. And they wouldn't let none but Hispanic COs work their unit. They did the Serenos bad. And then they separated the races. They made Unit 5 and 6. Well, Unit 5, AB, 5, CD was a black unit. 6 was a black unit. 6AB was Washington. They made Unit 4 white and 4AB white, and they made 4CD for the Pisces. But look how dirty they was. In the black units, they put about 8 white boys in it. And in the white units, they put about 8, 9 blacks in it. And as usual, it jumped. And that's when Dada from GQ got his ear bit off by the white boy. And the broad Miss Lee shot all the blacks. Maybe because they stood out amongst the whites. But how you move 8 blacks in there, and the whites decided to take off on the blacks because the Mexican boy got killed. I guess that's why they decided to do that. It was like the Mexicans basically threatened them. It really was serious. So the whites took off on those little blacks there. And them brothers is fighting for their life. They get attacked by a whole unit of whites. Dada get his ear bit off. Matrix and all them trying to get up out the unit. And the broad Miss Lee, she a half-breed. She shoot all the blacks. She shoot all the blacks. And it was the whites that was attacking them. But she shot the blacks. The people that was running toward her for help, she was shooting them down. The people that was trying to run toward the gun to get protection, she was aiming and shooting them. Not the people that was chasing them. Ain't that something? So, it was all bad. Now, TT them, they decided to get Shorty Paul. Shorty Paul was on some police stuff up in there, man, and everybody business, you know, always, in them people face. He was on some police stuff. He was going out there on visit, bringing in his little package or whatever. And on this particular day, they decided to take it, Terminator, TT, and a few more people. They went in there. They beat him up. They stuck their hand in that boy. All that. They down and killed Shorty Paul. And check this out. It was 2 individuals, Drive-By and Tyro, that was on the phone. And it happened. The warden, Nevins, because they had fired McBurney them. Well, McBurney was still there, but Showmick had got basically They got rid of him. But Nevins came down from Ely. Nevins used to be the captain at Ely, but he came down and became the ward. Now Nevins, after Shorty Paul got messed up like that, told Tyro that Shorty Paul was his friend, and that if he didn't tell him what happened, he was gonna send him to Ely and all this other stuff. And all I'm gonna say is this: Tyro ended up at NNCC with Pookie Red. You can ask Pookie Red. He ended up with a luxurious job in the laundry room. TT, Terminator, all of them got charged for what they did to Shorty Paul. Shorty Paul ended up getting a lawsuit and ended up winning like $30-some thousand from it. He ended up getting paroled. Now, I'm gonna leave that at that. But the yard shut down, and we was locked down. That yard never opened back up again. In 2004, after the Mexican got killed, High Desert State Prison stayed on lockdown even after they built the new part to it, which is High Desert Correctional Center. It stayed locked down. And being in that room after like 8 months, it started to take its toll on me. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's some things hard to talk about, but it's necessary. In order for you to heal, it's best to let it out. If you keep it in, it stresses your heart. And I found out the best way for me to heal was I used to talk to myself. It sounds crazy, but I used to talk, and sometimes I used to yell, and sometimes I used to scream. But it let me release. Because I knew people that didn't talk at all. And some just fell dead because their heart bust of the stress that compiled. And some, when it came out, did some things that I don't even want to speak of because they let it build up. But if you don't have no outlet, being locked in the room can kill you. Mentally, being locked up is a form of death mentally anyway. But it can kill you. If you don't have no outlet, some people get caught up in writing these Shakespearean letters to their girlfriends on how they changed. Or, they got these CDs that they listen to all damn day, or these books, girly books or urban novels, or they done came up with 5 rap albums that ain't gonna go no goddamn where but with them. But if you don't have no outlet and you locked down like that, the whole prison, ain't no movement. You find yourself staring out the window in a vague gaze, looking at nothing, thinking about nothing, just leaning against the door, breathing your own breath. Listening to a fucking cooler blow hella hard. And you ain't going nowhere. You don't want to watch TV no more. You don't want to play cards. You don't want to eat no more top ramen. You don't want to keep reading a letter you just got over and over again like you missed a goddamn sentence. You won't. You want to be free, but you ain't. It has its toll. And when it takes its toll, it does one or two things. Ain't no in-betweens. It make or break it. trust me, it broke me again. And guess what? I ended right back up in the ECU on medication. Duh. Locked down again. It's like the third time. But this time it was something about this one. See, I had really drew a wedge between me and my homeboys when I was with this, Islam thing. And I thought that was right for me. I thought I found my solace. I thought I found my belonging. But then I started to see things that led me to believe that that was not my calling. It was no different from what I had left. No disrespect to nothing. The Serenos vowed revenge but couldn't get it because of the Sereno program. And what little, like, you know um, get back they could get, they attempted, like, some, everybody make mistakes. Some was able to, like, slide through the little raid they came, and I don't know how they left some on the yard. Yeah, but like I say, they also took some that wasn't Sereno, so they had to really sort it out. But on a few occasions, they got at blacks. Like, they got Butch, my homeboy. He was on the phone. They started letting people out to use the phone one room at a time and shower and all that for 10 minutes. And they caught him on the phone. I don't know why they let his door open. And why they let the Mexicans' door open, or if, what was going on. But the Mexicans ran out the room, and he got his head up against the wall, not paying attention, and they started stabbing him all in his head and in his face, stuff like that. So, you know, that really made them clamp down on the Serenos, because they wasn't playing. And then they started having skirmishes on other yards. So they just said, you know what, we're gonna take all the Serenos off every yard, and we're gonna lock them up at NSP. And that was the Sereno program. They actually had to file a lawsuit and win in order for them to stop that. But everybody, even then, remember the Sereno program. Uh, when I come back, I'm in the ECU, and I start, witnessing stuff and going through stuff, both there and, you know, um, as they slowly start to ease the yard back open and whatnot. And it was never the same, but what little freedom they started giving us, like the chapel and stuff like that, things started to happen, that made me not want to be a part of that no more. And I just started going through a mental transformation. I don't know if it was good or bad. You tell me. We'll see when we come back from the ground up. Stay tuned. This when it start to get good. Till then.